let's get to the Cleveland athlete current trade list.
Okay. All right, so Mike has compiled a list where he's ranking the top 10 Cavs, Guardians, Browns combined. They're not ranked on who's the best through who's the 10th best. They're ranked on who's got the most trade value through who's got the 10th most trade value. All right? He's going to go 10-1. We're going to talk about each one, give a little bit, but we need the context of the whole list before we can be critical of anything else. So take it away, Mike.
That's the explanation. Before we get to that, I want to explain to people where this idea comes from, set it up in the full context, then we'll go Cleveland specific. Bill Simmons, the owner of The Ringer, does it twice a year, his annual NBA trade value column, where he ranks the top 65 players in terms of their trade value, once after the All-Star break, once after the championship. So over the weekend, he released his most updated list, and it starts like this, Steve. You could take this one full, 177. 1 through 5, Jokic, the champion, the single most valuable trade asset in basketball. He passed Giannis at number 2. He is Luka at 3. Victor Wembanyama, who we assume will be a Spur later this week, at 4. Steph Curry at 5. And then 6 through 10, real quick, is Tatum, Booker, Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, and Kevin Durant to round out the top 10.
By the way, Bill Simmons is on my top 5 list of sports media people I'd like to kick in the teeth.
He does a good job on this. So
what's your problem with Bill Simmons, man?
I don't know. The way he talks sounds very whiny. He whispers. I don't know. I find him very irritating when he talks.
I don't know him at all. Never had a
I don't know him
conversation with
personally. It's completely irrational and insane that I'd want to kick him in the teeth.
Facts.
But I thought it would sound funny to say that, and I just find it was my way of saying I find him annoying.
Okay.
And he's such a Boston homer. I don't like. I don't.
Well,
I'm irritated by homers in
shy away
general.
from that, so.
What's the matter, Mike? What'd you say?
No, he doesn't shy away from the fact that he is a Boston homer.
Yeah, I know.
So on the list, he ranks his top 65, and there were 3 Cavs on the list. And Steve, you take 179 here. The 3 Cavs who made the list were Evan Mobley at 16 in the budding superstar category, and then Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland at 23 and 26 respectively in the F no, we're not trading them category. So that's the categories that he broke them down into. And the factors he used, which I also used in determining my rankings here, Steve, take next.
Mm-hmm.
Talent and skill, age, contract, positional value, and potential. So a quarterback obviously has more value than an offensive lineman, especially an interior offensive lineman. Some positions just get a bigger haul back than others. So those are the factors that I used in determining my top 10 current, as of today, June 20th, 12:05 p.m., most valuable trade pieces in Cleveland.
Now, real quick,
yeah,
before we get to this, the fact that Cavs have 3 of the top 26 on his list is really impressive. That's really impressive.
Right.
And they had 4. Jared Allen fell out. He was on the list at the deadline at 63.
Because of the playoffs. Out. But to have, I'd be curious to know how many other teams have 3 of the top 30. Probably not very many.
No.
So that just shows you what I'm trying to say. That kind of illustrates.
The problem is the rest of the team is ass.
Well, I mean, most teams in the league, if you're, let's go back to this. If you've got the top 3 or 4, you got to have you got to have a little bit of depth. But the bottom 7 through 12 is usually interchangeable.
Yep.
But you got to have a few more pieces than what they do. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mikey.
Bradley Beal was 65, just to give you idea. I thought, the Suns might, but then I realized Bradley Beal is literally dead last on his list. Quick scroll. I'm not sure if another team is 3.
Yeah.
I don't see another team with 3. That is a very, very quick scroll, but I don't see. So
in the top 30, no. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see 3. I just quickly scrolled, and maybe I overlooked. I see a bunch of teams with 2, but I don't see anyone else with 3. So that is Bill Simmons' list. I took that idea, and I wanted to apply it to Cleveland athletes. Now, granted, and please don't – I'm not saying trade any of these guys. I know it's going to be taken as
get your DMs
traded. We are not.
up.
These are just
Don't
their
listen to
current
Mike.
trade
He's saying
values.
trade all of these guys.
I am not suggesting to trade any of these. It's actually an honor to be on this list because it means you get a quality haul back.
One thing that he did not have on his criteria, because he was only talking about basketball, and I just refresh my memory again, do you have the value of one player in their sport versus the other sport as a factor or no?
I guess inherently, but I didn't have a algorithm or formula to kind of figure out.
So that's
exactly
not really
what
a factor here.
So, and once again, it's impossible to compare what you get back for a baseball player versus a football player.
Right.
I did my best to find comparable deals, and this is my rankings. If you disagree, let me know. If you think someone's way off. So we're going to present each guy. We'll talk about it real quick. And then after we do all 10, we'll discuss who's too high, who's too low, what did I miss, what did I get right. So first we'll start with the honorable mentions. These are the first 5 guys who did not make the list. This would be 11 through 15 if I went that far.
I think we could have figured that out.
wow.
And this is not in order, but these are the 5 guys who did not make the cut. Stephen Kwan, Tristan McKenzie, Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson Jr., and Jared Allen. Those were the first 5 who did not make my top 10. So with that, let us get to the top 10.
I think McKenzie, if he doesn't have Tommy John surgery, is way ahead of those other 4 guys.
Well,
go ahead.
Injuries matter.
For me.
So
I talked to Mikey a little bit about this. Yeah. McKenzie was on the list yesterday.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, McKenzie should probably be in the top 10, but maybe because of the injuries, taking him off. But okay, go ahead.
When I talked to Jason, he was 10. I bumped him off
for
one other guy.
Yeah.
So we'll start with number 10. And once again, we'll go through these guys, talk a little bit on them, then we'll go through 10. So number 10 is Shane Bieber. He's in the second year of his arbitration. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2025. His current average cap hits $10.1 million. And a comparable deal I thought you could get back in return for him right now, based on some of the proposals out there, is 75% of what the Reds got for Luis Castillo last year, which was 2 top-tier prospects, 2 mid-tier guys. So I think 75%. You get 1 legit prospect.
Wasn't Castillo a free agent at the end of the year?
Last year, no. He had a year and a half, just like Bieber does now. So they got 2 top prospects. I think for Bieber, who's not having the same caliber of year Castillo as last year, you get 1 top prospect, 1 major leaguer, and then 1 mid prospect.
Castillo, I think.
No, Castillo just turned 27, so he's a year.
Really?
Castillo's a stud. Yeah.
I know Castillo's a stud. I don't know why I thought he was older. Wow, that shocks me.
So that is what I thought.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The equivalent value for Shane Bieber would be. Do you think I'm way off on what I think his value would be?
You said 2, and 2.
I think you get 1 top tier prospect, 1 legit major leaguer.
There's no cap hit in baseball, and there's no.
I know. I was trying to make it consistent across the board for all these guys. So to give you an idea of what they're making.
Yeah, that's reasonable. If you talk about 1 prospect, 1 guy that can help you down, and 1 mid-tier.
This is part of the reason. This is, I think, what the Guardians are trying to figure out. I know for this exercise, maybe this doesn't apply, but I think this is what the Guardians are spending the next, 5-6 weeks trying to figure out is what do they want back for him? Do you want a 1-for-1 legitimate power hitter you can plug into the lineup?
Yeah.
Do you want to go the route Mikey's talking about with more prospects? I know for the sake of the exercise, we're trying to do prospects and everything, but I don't think the Guardians know what they want to get back for Shane Bieber.
I mean, in a perfect world, they'd go 1-for-1. I don't know that the hitter that you'd have to get 1-for-1. I don't know that any team is trading that hitter for Shane Bieber.
Right. It not only a hitter, but a hitter with multiple years of control.
Right.
You want 3 years.
Who's trading that guy for a pitcher
I don't know.
that's got some questionable peripheral numbers?
Right. And don't the Guardians have a
pitching
limit?
Is more valuable than hitting.
Don't they have a limit on the age that they're gonna I don't remember them signing too many 31 or 32-year-old power hitters, in deals that come in trades.
Yeah, well, it would have to be younger guys.
Yeah.
So it's not an age thing; it's a how much they make thing.
Right.
I think it's going to be. I'm curious to see the rest of the list.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to rank until we see the whole thing.
Right. Because my first thought is, well, he should be higher on the list, but I got to really see the rest of the list.
We'll see. So next up, number 9. This came down to 2 guys who I thought could really be in this position, and after talking to Tyvis, I ended up going with Greg Newsome at number 9, just over Martin Emerson. They both have 3 years of contractual ability left. He's signed through 2024. He's his 5th year, first-round pick option the Browns could pick up for 2025. His average cap hits $3.8 million. And a comparable trade deal I found for him was Marcus Peters. There's not an exact deal. No cornerbacks of his stature, his draft pick don't get traded very often. But for Marcus Peters, they got a second-round pick and a Kenny Young, a linebacker. So you're getting a 2nd or 3rd round pick and a late-round pick for Greg Newsome.
Think, I don't know, maybe we're looking at different. I think the Guardians comparatively are getting way more for Bieber than the Browns are for Greg Newsome.
Yeah, because I remember, even when we was talking about 1 versus 1, trades, they talked about him and Jerry Jeudy, right? And they were saying, like, oh, no, the Broncos aren't trading straight up Newsome for Jerry Jeudy.
Right.
The Browns got to add something into that.
And Jerry Jeudy's not a top.
And he's not a top receiver at all.
I mean, I defer to Tyvis. He knows more about defensive backs in the NFL than I do. I would have taken Emerson over Newsome. I'd have put Newsome in honorable mention. I'd had Emerson on the list.
I wouldn't have either on the list.
I'd have Emerson. I think Emerson's going to be a beast, and I understand that's projecting.
He had one solid year, and it was not a high pick.
I know. Well, I don't care that he wasn't a high pick. He's massive with long arms, and he's a great ball coverage. Now, again, he's got to do it again.
Yeah.
I really like him.
All right, number 8, Mike.
Number 8, we're going back to the Guardians here. And this was a tough one. I think he's hard to value, and this positional value hurts him a little bit. But I went with Emmanuel Clase at number 8. He has a very, very, very team-friendly deal. His average cap hit, he's making about $4 million. He has club options in 27-28, so the Guardians, essentially, if he doesn't fall off, will be here until the 2028 season. I looked at some comparable deals to Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman, where you got one top-tier prospect back. Gleyber Torres in the Chapman deal.
Yeah.
And even with the Yankees, they got Clint Frazier back, who was the Guardians' top prospect at the chance. And then 2 mid-tier prospects for those guys. So
Right,
with
and
Emmanuel
none of those
Clase,
guys panned out.
Well, obviously
Torres
it didn't
but
pan out.
Well,
but
the Miller deal.
Well, but I would say that the Yankees would say Torres hasn't panned out. Like
Torres has been
They
good, not
expected Torres
great.
to be
They
an
expected
all-star. He's
great.
not an all-star.
Yeah.
Well, Torres compared to what?
Well, the Guardians gave up nothing.
Yeah.
The Guardians guys were all bust.
I mean,
that's what I was talking about. But even Torres has overall been a disappointment in his Yankee career. He's a good major leaguer, but they thought he was going to. And they thought he was going to be a superstar.
Yeah,
and he's not.
No, he's not a superstar, but
he's a good player.
He's a solid everyday player.
He's a good player. But I don't. Those trades are weird comparisons because those guys were rental, those guys. Chapman was a rental.
Yeah.
Andrew Miller had a year and a half left,
Which is why I think you get a little more for Clase.
However, and Clase's contract is nothing for the best closer in baseball, or one of the best closers in baseball. However, teams now, I don't think would give up as much as they did then. The Cubs was a unique situation because they hadn't won the World Series ever, or, in our lifetime.
Closers are running backs.
No, that's not true.
No, they have value. I mean, you'd get a lot for Clase.
I mean,
but
they got
not
value.
as much as you would have gotten 7 years ago.
I'm not saying they don't have no value, but it's very rare for teams to give up a bunch of stuff just for a closer. Like think about it. If I wanted to, if you got Clase, right, what is the difference between the top-notch closer and just a good closer?
It's a big difference.
A lot.
It is a big difference because he's the top notch and he's under control for a lot of years and not getting paid anything. Even though, in general, I agree teams these days are not giving up as much for closers. In his specific case, teams would.
Yes.
In his it's very unique to him only. I don't think there's another relief pitcher in baseball. But listen, Josh Hader got traded last year, and they got a good return. At least potential. Whether those guys pan out, who knows?
I think one of the reasons he would get a bigger return is the fact that he's on a very team-friendly deal.
It's one of the best contracts in baseball.
He's getting paid pennies. That's why I'm waiting to see if Jose Ramirez is on this list.
Oh,
it might be the second best contract in baseball, and the first best contract in baseball is coming up in a couple picks. Don't worry. All right, number 7. We are staying with the Guardians, though. Staying in the Guardians infield. Not Jose, Andres Gimenez, who just signed another team-friendly deal. Now, he would be even higher on this list.
I don't know that I consider that a team-friendly deal. I consider it just a neutral deal.
No, it's 100% a team-friendly deal. If he puts up last year's numbers. If he puts up this year's numbers, it's not.
Yeah, I do believe he'll get back to that. As Jason said a bunch of times, I don't think you go from a 7-WAR guy to forgetting. The comparable deal I looked up for him was Luis Ariz last year, who was traded from the Twins to the Marlins. The Marlins gave up Pablo Lopez, one of their top pitching prospects, and another young guy, I can't remember his name, but 2 top 10 prospects in the organization and a number 17 guy, so 3 top 20 prospects. I think you get a similar return for Gimenez, who is a plus hitter at a valued position on a long-term control.
It's a medium sauce. That's a medium sauce contract. I don't think you can get that much.
I don't think it's that team-friendly. Yeah, okay, if you had a 7-WAR every year, it would be. I don't think it was realistic to think he was going to have a 7-WAR every year.
I think Gimenez probably – I think he's probably 10 on this list. I'd have Bieber and Clase higher.
I agree. Luis Ariz is so unique because he's got no power and no speed, but he's just elite at getting on base. Yeah. I mean, it's like we've never seen recently. It's weird. But
trying to find exact comparable deals. There's never apples to apples.
Your comparisons have actually been pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, number 6. How about Deshaun Watson? Now, I know the Browns gave up a ton for him. 3 first-round picks, gave him the contract. He signed through 2026. He got the fully guaranteed deal. His average cap hit is $53.5 million. Comparable deals, I looked at what the Jets gave up for Aaron Rodgers, which was a pick swap this year and a second or first next year. I looked at the Jay Cutler deal from Denver to the Bears, which was a first and a third. I don't think you get 3 first-round picks back for Watson. Actually, I know for a fact you wouldn't get 3 first-round picks. But I do still think you'd get a first-round pick plus a little something back for Watson today if he were on the trading block. And I value NFL first-round picks more than I value NBA picks or baseball prospects.
Yeah, I mean, the Watson thing is tricky.
He's the hardest guy for me to rank.
He still certainly has value, but his value from when the Browns traded him is way down because he played and didn't play well, and he signed a massive contract.
I think
even though you knew that was coming.
He's probably the one guy on the list where value is in the eye of the beholder because there's probably there's teams out there that would give you 2 or 3 number ones for him. I believe that.
Still?
Yes. And I think
maybe
there's teams,
3.
and there's teams that won't touch.
But not many teams.
I didn't say many.
But there only has to be 1 or 2.
That's exactly it.
There's 25 teams that wouldn't even think about it.
I think there's maybe 3 to 4 teams that believe he could put up MVP numbers next year.
Yeah. I don't know that anybody would give up the same price.
You think Tampa would? Look who they're starting. Look who their quarterbacks are. You think they would give up? I think they'd give up 2. 3 may be a stretch. I think they'd give up 2.
I think 3's a stretch. Yeah, I could be talked into 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, so just to recap, 10 through 6. We had Bieber at 10, Newsome at 9, Clase at 8, Gimenez at 7, Watson at 6. At number 5, I have Darius Garland. Now, he signed a big deal, the rookie max extension last year. He's under contract through the 2027-2028 year. His cap hit just shy of $40 million, and a comparable deal for a guy of his stature, his age, his position. I thought you could get back about 75% of what the Jazz got for Donovan Mitchell for a Darius Garland trade right now. I have him at number 5 on my trade list.
I think that's high. I think I'd have him on the list. I think the contract hurts him a little bit because of how big the number is.
And he's good, but not as good as the number.
Yeah, I think Donovan had accomplished more in Utah at the time of the trade, just in terms of all-star appearances and everything else.
Yeah, he did say 75% of Donovan.
Yeah, I know. I think Darius belongs on the list, but I think I'd have him a little bit lower.
I would have Watson ahead of Darius.
Probably, yeah.
Even though you think he'd get more, but you're right. In the end, there's a couple of. I think there's a lot of teams that would have. There'd be more teams interested in Darius, than in Deshaun Watson.
100%.
But ultimately, the teams that were interested in Watson, you might even get three first-round picks. The more I think about it, you're right because ultimately, if you need that quarterback, there's nothing more important.
This might be the last offseason you can get 3 number ones.
If he's bad this year, then you get nothing.
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 Yeah. I mean, Darius, I think it hurts him is he's a little slightly built. Like
he does need to get.
If he was big, if he was like a big, like I'm a 6'5", 200-pound guy where. You just was, and he's not really super duper athletic. I mean, he gets by with it. He can get by you, but he's just not. He doesn't have the physical stature that you would like to see. He's had some injury things. You can beat him up a little bit. So for me, he has some trade value, but I don't think it's crazy high.
All right. Well, we know who the top 4 are. We just don't know what order they're in.
Right.
To me, there was an easy top 3.
The top 4 are Mobley, Mitchell, Jose, and Myles Garrett.
Yep.
That is correct. And I think one of those 4 does not belong with the other 3 in terms of their return. And I think the outlier is Donovan Mitchell. And I think he still has tremendous trade value. Coming in at 4 is obviously no slight, but he's only under contract through 2 seasons, or through this 2024-25 season. Then he has the player option, which, based on how salaries are continuing to rise and rise and rise, I think it's very unlikely, no matter where he is, he would accept that player option. His average cap hits $35 million. I think if they were to trade him today, they'd get about 75 to 80% of what Utah got for him, just based on.
So, in other words, you think the Cavs could get equal value, that Garland or Mitchell is equal value in a trade right now?
I think it's pretty close. Yeah, I think Donovan's a little more. You guys
agree with that, Jason?
I think a little more, but I think it's pretty close.
I think you might be able to sneak a little more in Darius Garland. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's is that crazy, given his unique circumstances. We talk about Bradley Beal's unique circumstances and why the Wizards couldn't get it. Well, if you're the Cavs and you say, for instance, you wanted to trade Donovan Mitchell today, well, there's already been rumors that he wants to play for another team, so that kind of diminishes.
That's true.
Then,
that's fair.
Then, if you move him now, you got 1 year, right? So that means you would have to move him today. The team that traded for him would have to be a contender,
right? Or the Knicks,
or the Knicks,
yeah.
And that contender would need to either go to the finals or be in the conference finals for him to consider staying.
I mean, at this point, if you're another team, you're not trading for him unless you're clearly a championship contender, or you have some sort of guarantee that he's going to stay, which is unlikely. Do you agree that Darius gets more back in the trade today than Donovan?
I think, Mikey had it like kind of even. I think Darius brings back more because of the contract, because he's under control longer.
Right.
I think Donovan's probably about half. He said 75%. I think it's probably more 50%.
Yeah.
Half of what they gave up, they could recoup. And again, like the Knicks offer would probably be similar to what they gave last year, but it wasn't overwhelming in what they were offering for Donovan. And I don't know if there's another team. There would be. There would be another team.
So just for hypothetical saying, if the Cavs are like,
I can feel it coming. I can feel it coming.
Hypothetically, if you wanted to make a move, you say, listen, you go to New York, you say, listen, we know he want to kind of come here. What are you willing to give us? And you might be able to. We'll take him and get him to New York a year early. What's your thoughts? What could the Cavs get back from the Knicks?
I think the Knicks are probably going to offer similar to what they offered Utah. They're not going to go.
And what was that?
What was that, Mike? It was Barrett. It was
Barrett, Toppin, and 3 firsts. But I don't think you're getting 3 firsts anymore.
3 was it? Was New York offering 3? I don't think.
Or maybe 2 and a pick swap. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, the all-time deal. We're getting off track. The all-time deal was Anthony Davis, and what New Orleans was able to extract from LA. It's like that. That's the type of deal that you're not going to get that this time around.
If they say, I'm gonna give you Toppin, I'm gonna give you Quickly, and I'm gonna give you R.J. Barrett and a pick.
I personally, I would not trade Donovan this offseason. Like, you're already all in.
Yeah, that's
go.
Crazy to
so
trade
let's
him
go.
1 year
Like, run this thing back another year. And I think that there's a lot of internal growth with this roster still. There's another level for them to get to. Like, let's see it again.
I think trading him now for 3, solid players doesn't make a lot of sense.
So let me ask you this question.
In the NBA, more than anywhere else, 4 quarters do not equal $1.
Okay, that's right.
Donovan's $1. You're trading me 4 quarters.
So let me ask you, if say for instance, say this year they don't win the championship or whatever the case may be, how much value do you lose from? Because we was talking about the Bieber thing.
Significant.
So you go from not getting the pick. I don't think you would even get a pick at that point.
You would.
You're saying you get a pick, but say you only maybe get 2 players and one of them is a borderline starter.
I don't know. It's hard because we have to let this year play out.
Yeah.
What does this look like? Obviously, it goes back to baseball and the Bieber thing. The less control you have over a guy, the less the value is.
Right.
But I think that there would still be enough significant value. I want to see this one more time. I want to see this with Donovan and Darius again. That's why I've been saying this whole.
It's going to be tricky when they trade him anyway, because every other team knows he wants to play for the Knicks.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on this year. There's a lot riding on this year.
Let's get to number
3. I'm surprised you guys thought that Garland would bring back more than Mitchell, but we'll discuss that at the very end here.
Yeah.
Number 3, the top 3. I went with Jose Ramirez. He has an unbelievably team-friendly deal. He's only making $20 million per year, give or take.
You blew it here.
No, see, I disagree here. He signed through 2028.
No way Myles Garrett brings back more than Jose Ramirez. Comparatively in their sport, no way.
I think you would. I'll explain why when we're done here.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to give away if Garrett's 1 or 2 here. But I think a comparable deal to what you would get back for Jose Ramirez is what the Dodgers gave up for Mookie Betts to the Red Sox, which was Alex Verdugo, the number 1 prospect in their system, a center fielder whose name's I'm drawing a blank on right now, who was the number 6 prospect in their system, a major leaguer who's an average major leaguer, and then another top 30 prospect.
I think they get more because Jose is locked into the best contract in.
I do agree. It's the best contract in sports. In sports.
Arbitration contract in baseball.
I agree with that. It is the best contract in baseball.
Mookie Betts hadn't signed.
No, the Dodgers had to sign him to a large deal, which is why they probably didn't get even more.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The Guardians would get, I think, way more than the Red Sox got for the Red Sox got for Mookie
More
Betts.
than 2 elite prospects?
Yes, absolutely.
Jason G?
It comes down to what he said at the start is like, what are you valuing? How much value are you putting on an NFL first-round pick versus a baseball top prospect, which has a better hit rate?
Yeah, but like, what do you think you're getting from Myles Garrett?
We'll get there in one
You're not
second.
getting multiple
We'll get there.
picks.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
Multiple.
At this point,
We'll get there. We'll get there. So I had Jose at 3.
Don't steal the thunder. Don't do it.
We'll get there. So the top 2 comes down to, and don't take it, Steve, Evan Mobley and Myles Garrett. And I talked to Jason about this yesterday. I talked to Jay about this. I talked to Earl about this. I talked to Tyvis about this. And I talked to my 2 friends who are video coordinators in the NBA to try to get as many opinions on how to equally value what you'd get back for each player. I'm going to tell you what I think each player would get back, then I'll tell you who's number 2 and who's number 1. I think for Evan Mobley, you get about 70% of the Gobert/Kevin Durant trade return, which would be 3 first-round picks, a pick swap, and a starting caliber player, a young player you think could be a piece. I looked at the Khalil Mack trade as what you could get as a possible return on investment on Myles Garrett, which was 2 first-round picks and a mid-round pick. And at the end of the day, I went with Evan Mobley at number 2 and Myles Garrett at 3 because I do believe NFL first-round picks are the single most valuable asset in this entire project. 2 of those outweighs 3 first-round picks, and I don't love the young players.
I don't
So
know how
with
you
Mobley
can say
2
NFL picks
and
are
Myles
more valuable.
Garrett number 1.
I mean, they're all crapshoots.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier. I think NFL first-round picks are more valuable than NBA.
Does it depend where they are?
Well, yeah, but that's what I was going to say. When you get past the top 5 in the NBA,
right,
the value falls off drastically. You could find a Hall of Famer. I mean, you could in the NBA too. But it's a lot easier at 22, 23, 24 who's going to find someone that's going to impact you right now and have a monster year. Whereas a lot of times, NBA guys, 22, 23, 24
but
are
in the end, the draft pick is a crapshoot no matter where
Absolutely
it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Just to give you context, like this year's NBA draft, it is a 3-player draft. Teams are upset they got the 4th pick.
The Khalil Mack trade was the Bears and Raiders, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Has any other defensive lineman, pass rusher, been traded for multiple first-round picks recently?
Bradley Chubb last year.
Got traded for multiple first-round picks?
Give me 1
sure
second
about
to
that?
triple check. But.
Well, if Bradley Chubb got traded for multiple first-round picks, then I'm wrong.
I think Myles 100% is bringing back.
I just think it's stupid to trade multiple first-round picks for a pass rusher.
You just said it's a crapshoot.
Okay, so here's this. Let me ask you this.
Yeah, fair.
If you, I look at it like this.
Yeah.
If you was the Dallas Cowboys and you said I'm going to get Myles Garrett, you have Michael Parsons, they're automatically Super Bowl favorites.
I mean, if they traded for Bradley Chubb, I just didn't think defensive linemen got traded because no matter how good they were for 2 first.
Chubb was only 1 first. It was 1 first and a third. I apologize.
I feel like
now Myles Garrett's better than Bradley Chubb, a lot better.
If you wanted to really, I know defense can't win championships, right?
Yeah.
But listen, if you get Myles Garrett in like another top, like Myles Garrett and Michael Parsons is devastating. You can't get away from that. Like they would be automatically the team coming out of the NFC. You couldn't stop it.
I hear you, but if you're trading Myles, like think about it. If you're trading Myles Garrett for, even if you do get 2 first-round picks, if you got that, they'd be late first-round picks because it's only good teams that are going to make that trade. And no shitty team with the top 10 pick is making that trade.
And that's why I want their number 2 pick. I want a second-round pick too.
Okay, but I think
you get 2 first and a mid-round pick for Myles Garrett.
Yeah, but they're 2 late firsts.
I'm just
to
me it's a first-round pick. It's a first-round.
I actually would put Jose Ramirez 1.
I'd put Mobley 1. I think it's Mobley.
And I would put Mobley 2 and Garrett 3 for me.
I heard a little bit about how teams are coveting that Mobley pick even before the draft, and he's lived up to it. Yeah. And I think teams look at Mobley and say he's on a team that's trying to win, so they haven't necessarily developed his
We can develop his game and make him a
more,
superstar.
Yeah, I actually think it's Mobley number 1.
I think the list is good overall. I mean, I think the only change I would make is I would have Tristan McKenzie instead of Greg Newsome in the top 10.
Fair.
And I would change the order a little bit, but I mean, I think it's a good list.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did an excellent job with that project there, Mike.
I spent a lot of time last night doing it.
That was good. I like that. I mean, that was really good. I mean, I think to me, you undervalued the baseball guys a little bit, and I get it. One baseball player doesn't make the impact, but I think but you said you weren't factoring in that into your equation, and in my mind, I'm like, what could you get back? Like, for Jose Ramirez, I think you can get back proven. Like, I don't even think what they got from Mookie Betts is close to what you get for Ramirez. You're talking about a top 10 player in baseball.
So give me the return package.
And has the most team-friendly contract of any superstar in the game.
Speed, Gold Glove caliber.
Right, there's no flaw in his game.
Yeah. So
doesn't walk a lot. But
give me the return package. You think? I mean, and once again, this is total speculation for all these. Who knows what you get back?
It's also hard because are you trying to trade him for prospects? Or are you trying to trade him for
guys
if he's on the Red Sox and you're trading him, it's probably a different package that you're asking
back.
Right,
that would be tricky. But I think if you were trading him for prospects, and remember, prospects. You're comparing prospects to draft picks. I don't think that's an apples to apples comparison. I think
you could say a top 5 prospect in an organization is a first round pick.
But But those guys have. At least they're playing professionally. They're not playing in the majors. And some of them may have major league experience.
If you get 3 of a team's top 5, and again, just because Baseball America ranks them doesn't mean the teams actually agree with the rankings.
Right.
But let's just use Baseball America. Or let's use Keith Law from The Athletic. The top 5, if you have 3 of the top 5, to me that's 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, and you would absolutely get 3 top 5 prospects for Jose Ramirez. 100%.
Yeah.
I think because there's nothing – if you're another team, you're like – the guy's great. He's not old. He's got a great contract.
He's never in trouble.
He's never in trouble. He's never hurt. Yeah. I mean, he has injury factored into his last season, but he's basically missed no time in his career. The only negative is that, you're 3-4 years away from him being where he starts getting a little older. But
prospects, I think prospects in baseball take so long to pay dividends.
But not really.
It depends.
Well, you're seeing more and more young guys come into the league and have an impact than ever before.
If you are a top 10 pick in the NFL, you're starting. It just is what it is. You're a starter. Like, even if you're a quarterback. Like, nowadays.
You're starting when?
If you get drafted in top 10 as a left tackle, you're a starter.
But doesn't mean you're good.
Well, I'm just saying that.
I mean, you're starting that year. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if the Guardians, obviously they would never trade Jose, but in theory, if they traded Jose, they would get 3 prospects that are ready to play right away that might even be in the majors already.
Yeah.
Like, if you traded him to the Cardinals, let's say the Cardinals, like, you'd get Jordan Walker, who's their best prospect, who's already in the majors. He struggled early, and now he's played better since he came back. Like, if you traded him, I could go to any team and go to their best young player outside of a few guys. And, like, we could take him and then your 2 best prospects in AAA right now.
So the Cardinals are not realistic, obviously, because they have Nolan Arenado. They wouldn't do this. But
No, I know.
But hypothetically speaking, to use that. So Jordan Walker is their number one prospect in the organization, plays the outfield, MLB ready. Do you think you could get a Jordan Walker, Tyler O'Neill, and one of their top 3 pitching prospects in return?
I don't think that would be enough if I'm the Guardians.
Yeah.
For real?
100%. Again, if you look at every other superstar, there's a negative as to why not to trade for him. Aaron Judge, the contract's huge. Shohei Ohtani, I got to sign him to an extension. I could go for every other guy. There's no flaw in Jose. He's not old. He's got a great contract. He's got speed. He's got power. He's not elite at getting on base, but good enough. Great teammate, never injured. Like, there's no flaw whatsoever. And you got him locked up for the next what is it, 6 years?
5 years, I think.
Through 28.
Yeah. And so even in the last year of the contract, I think he's only going to be 33, 34 maybe.
It's not a Miggy contract. It's not a
No, it's not going to kill you. It's not taking
It's the best contract in baseball. So you said you would have Jose number 1, Bull.
I would have Jose 1, Mobley 2, Myles 3.
Jason,
but I think it's really close between
Jason,
those
what's
3.
your top 3?
I
want to hear your top 3.
I have Mobley 1 because he's on a rookie deal still.
Yeah.
And you've got controllable years of him for.
But Jose's so much
4 or
better
5 more years
right now than Mobley is in his sport. That's why I had him 1.
Well, yeah, right now he is, but I think Mobley, because of the contract situation and how team. Now again, he's got if he could shoot it better, I don't think it would be close. You could make a compelling case for Jose 1. I think it's close between Jose and Evan 1 and 2, and I probably would have Myles 3 on.
You got list. Myles 1?
I got him 1. Because what I could do is, if you're a team, you got to think about it like this. Like, I already got my first-round pick, so now I got 2 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year.
Yeah.
And if I'm
the Browns don't have a first round pick.
Well, I'm just saying if they traded, like if you're a team, if I was a team, not necessarily the Browns, but if I'm trading him, I'm looking at it, in fact, in a vacuum, that if I do have my first-round pick and I'm trading him, and I think you get another second or you could get a third in 1 year.
By the way, I'm thinking about this now. I wouldn't even have Myles Garrett 3, now that I think about it. I'd have him 4. I think Jason's right. I think you ultimately, if the Browns right now said, all right, Deshaun Watson and Myles Garrett both on the block, I think they would ultimately get more for Watson than they would for Garrett.
No.
I think it'd be really close. Because the positions that they play.
Well, you just said Myles Garrett, you think they could get 3 firsts for Watson.
Well, I said 2, and maybe 3. I said for sure 2 and maybe 3.
But there's no maybe 3 with Myles Garrett.
No, it's 2. It's 2
I
for
could
Myles.
get a second-round pick. I
So
get
the
2 ones
beauty
and
of
I don't
this-
think they get 2 1s and a 2.
Yep.
The beauty of this is I have my list, and we have 3 of y'all out there, and you guys all have a different number 1. Earl, what do you think, real quick? How would you do the top 3?
I think I would go Myles third, Myles third, Evan Mobley second. I would go Deshaun Watson first.
So that's 4 different number 1
Deshaun
choices.
won.
How
mean,
many
you
how
could
many
make that
ones
argument.
how many ones are y'all saying you get 2 ones guaranteed? That's what the premise
For Watson.
For Watson.
Yeah. I'm not as convinced as you guys that you can get 2 1s from Myles. I might be crazy, but
I think you for sure get 2 1s.
I
don't know who
For sure.
outside of what's his name? who
Well,
you
how
mentioned?
many of these guys become available in the prime of their careers? Like, there's
Never.
not much of a sample size for that. That's
Never.
why it's
That's
hard
fair.
to find.
So
comps.
Richard So going back, I looked up the biggest trade returns on defensive ends.
Yeah.
So Richard Seymour, this is 2009. So very different eras.
Nothing before the last 10 years to me matters. It's not comparative.
so then Jared Allen-
Offense means so much more now.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a huge track record.
It's only
Khalil Mack is the most comparable, and he was 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
So
You're probably right. You probably would get 2. But
I don't think there's any debate. I think you for sure get 2 for Myles, and you're getting 2, and you're getting something else.
Yep.
Linebacker, special
A
teams
player
guy,
if you want it.
mid-round pick.
I still think in the end you'd get more comparatively in their sport from Mobley and Ramirez and even Watson.
But here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you say, for instance, you got a defense, right? And you may think, guess what? My quarterback may not be top 10, but he's a top 15 guy. We've won with him, and you already got a really good defense or pieces and parts. Like, think about it. You bring Myles Garrett is so good defensively that you would bring up the play of your defense to a level where you could be a Super Bowl contender. Like, to me, the only way you could become a Super Bowl contender overnight is if you get a quarterback or a generational pass rusher. I think you can, even receiver to me is too hard to move the needle. Say, for instance, think about it like this.
I probably receive criticism for this. As much as I love Myles Garrett, he's not Aaron Donald.
But watch this. But if you got Aaron Donald,
Yeah.
and you go get Myles Garrett, it's crazy.
I don't know. If the Cowboys got Myles Garrett, are you changing your win total for them?
Yes.
By how much?
3 games.
2-3 games?
Bro, you got to. This is stackables. Like, that is a cheat code.
Come on now.
Have you seen?
You ain't changing their win total 2-3 games.
Why not?
For a defensive lineman?
Because you already got a star. Can you
I know
imagine
that,
how
but-
good? Can you imagine? Have you seen Michael Parsons play?
Of course I've seen him play.
That means you got the 2 best pass rushers in the game.
I know that, but I don't think Myles Garrett brings 2-3 wins to a team.
It depends
don't
on
see
what.
that.
It depends on what team he goes to. You telling me? Hold on.
I don't think any non-quarterback is worth 2-3 wins. Nobody, not even Aaron Donald.
Watch this. If you put him on the Pittsburgh Steelers, you telling me they don't go from 8 wins last year to 10?
I don't think so.
Come on, man. Come
I
on,
don't
bro.
see it. Why?
You put him? What do you mean? Why?
I think 3 is a stretch, but
You 2 wins.
I think 1.5.
If
to
Myles
2.
Garrett doesn't play in a game, does the point spread change?
No,
well, he didn't
yeah,
play in the one game
yeah.
last year against
Yeah.
I think it would
Atlanta.
change. I don't think it's going to change.
What's going to change?
drastically.
Half a point?
I
Probably.
think he changed a point last
Now,
year.
if a good quarterback doesn't play, it's worth a touchdown.
Sure, but
But it's
I
the-
still think over the course of a season, yeah, I still think he's worth. I'd say he's worth 1.5. I think he's worth 1.5 wins.
Man, I don't know.
Man, that
I don't
is.
think any non-quarterback's worth
I-
1.5.
I-
I'm not sure about that.
I look at it. It's just not Myles Garrett by himself. I'm saying that if you take him and
No,
put
I
him
get-
on,
I get
if
it.
you put him with Chris Jones in Kansas City,
Yeah.
you're not blocking him. Good luck dropping back. Good luck dropping back, throwing the ball 40 times a game because you can't guard both of those dudes. You cannot double team him. Like Chris Jones will either have 20 sacks or Myles Garrett gonna have 20.
But listen, I mean, there's a lot of good defensive lines. You're not getting to the quarterback every time.
But we talk about
the game is so offensive based. I just think
these are you guys think these are generational defensive ends. That's like saying I got Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White.
I don't agree with that. I don't think Myles Garrett's in that category. I think he's a level below those guys.
Well, he has more time to go. But if you talk about Myles Garrett, is definitely a generational talent when it comes to defensive ends. He's big. He's fast.
I guess it depends how you define generational talent.
Well, he's a Hall of Fame talent, I think. Yeah. Right? Are we?
Yeah,
Hall of Fame. Probably yes.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame.
A guy that comes in day one.
You think he's as good as Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White in that conversation?
I don't think he's. I mean, that's greatest of all time.
Right. He's not in that category.
I did a story on him a couple of years ago. He was on pace, like he was close to the Bruce Smith type career sack numbers. I haven't looked at it lately, but
it's not a fair comparison. They're throwing the ball way more now.
I'm just saying, more opportunity. If you just look at the numbers, and I understand you can make numbers say whatever you want.
Yeah.
He was on pace a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He was stride for stride with some of the greatest.
Myles Garrett?
Yeah.
He has the 6th most sacks through 6 seasons ever.
I mean, I don't know how many defensive ends played since ever, but that's a lot.
Listen, Myles Garrett's a great player. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer if he stays healthy and does this for a few more years. But
he's not on Reggie White's level.
Not on. He's on tier 2, which is still an incredible tier.
I was going to say,
yes.
I mean,
there's some pretty good players.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the best pass rushers in the game today.
Yeah.
But I don't think he has to me, Aaron Donald makes more impact than he's on a level. Not anymore, but he was on a level by himself.
So we'll go there. If you put Aaron Donald on the same team as Myles Garrett, you're dead. You can't run. You can't pass.
I don't see it that way. But
Aaron
Donald is prime. Okay, I mean, listen. I don't think if the other guys around them are not that good as those guys are, they're going to make a huge impact. I agree with you.
Right.
But to make a difference of 3 wins, I just don't see it.
I think 3's high.
Three. Okay. If you say hyperbole, but you give me 2 wins. You can give me 2 wins. That's worth 2 wins.
I'd say
I'm going 1. I'm going 1.5. I'll give you 1. And I think that's a lot, by the way, because I think for the most part, no non-quarterback is worth wins or more than 1 win.
If you got multiple people.